Moby, Moby, where are you? Beep. What are you doing out here? Beep. You getting the mail? Okay. What's that letter? Beep. Dear Tim and Moby, how did the European rise to power during the Age of Exploration affect the world, and how were they able to take over so much territory? From Pablo. Well, Pablo, the European rise began when the Old World, being Europe, began to exchange with new, vast continents called the Americas, and also Africa and Asia. There were several explorers that made this possible. There was Columbus that found the New World, but it was like people like Vasco de Balboa that helped settle the New World. There was a lot of good that came of this. The European nations began colonizing the New World, and also Africa and Asia. But the people that lived in these areas, it did not go over well in some places. They might fight back against the Europeans. In the Americas, it would have been a bloodbath for the Europeans without them carrying secret weapons like the Black Plague and others. Beep. Well, these diseases caused major destructions toward the indigenous populations. It decreased the population so much that they had to look for other sources of slaves because of deficiency of humans to work on the European colonies. So they began to look at Africa, which caused African slave trade. The European nations were able to control the Americas due to the non-responses of the population not having enough to fight back against their aggressors. Beepity boopity boop. You have a good point there. They were able to control other regions like Lower Asia Minor because of their superiority with their weapons and their training. Also, their amount of gold supplies of the country that was trying to control may pay some of the indigenous population to subdue the rest, then take the weakened population by their own military superiority, and then take the land. Beep. Yeah, that is pretty bad what they did. But with the global exchange network that they were able to set up, allow them to hold these places for centuries after all these different explorers found these different places, sometimes unknown to the Europeans. The global economy allowed the different countries like Britain, France, and the Netherlands to hold these places because they had a stable banking system which allowed them to do this, even though Portugal and Spain had first chances at these places, but they did not have the proper economy to hold them, where Britain, France, and the Netherlands did. Beep. The European age of exploration affected the world in so many good ways, like all the connections that were made, but also affected it in many bad ways, like the slave trade and the destruction of the indigenous Native American population. All in all, it was good. It took centuries for Europeans to colonize these new places, and for these colonies to break away from the mother country. For example, like America, Mexico, and Canada. Beep. You know, you're right, Moby. They must have had a lot of junk in their trunk to get to these places. Made, produced, and whatever else, Mr. Cobus, by Joshua Stapon.